Okay, recording in progress, and I think I'm sharing. So April the 15th. Okay, as usual, starting with our prayer. Just relaxing a little bit, calming down our thoughts, inviting our spiritual guides, the higher spirits, spirits of light, to be here with us today. Our source in the spiritual realm, we celebrate your presence with us here and now. Let us be guided by unconditional love and be of service for the highest good. We thank you for the abundance we receive, and please forgive our mistakes as we forgive those who cause us difficulties. Help us never to judge another until we have walked a mile in his or her moccasins and his or her shoes. Help us to fulfill our purpose, uphold our values, and be understanding and compassionate. And protection for our lives and the life of our family and friends. Set your way before us, Jesus. May we make a difference in this world for your glory and purpose. So I have a story to tell about Chico, and it's a very nice one. There are several YouTube videos from all different parts of Brazil, representing and the broadcast, events that they have in several cities, spiritist center in several cities in Brazil. And every once in a while, I like hearing what they say, about their events and such, because lots of people, they met Chico Xavier, and and as such, they have stories to tell. So a couple weeks ago, I had this lady, I was listening to this lady talking about a day that she met with Chico Xavier when he visited a center in Rio de Janeiro. It was one of the very first times that Chico was visiting that city. So this story has, it's from many, many years ago. But he was there because it was an event for this spiritist center, and it was supposed to help them with organizing meetings. Chico was not really somebody that was going places to talk to he was not that kind of, he was not a lecturer, if you will, but instead he enjoyed doing, charity, organizing things, and meetings, most of it mediumship meetings. So he was there, and then they did work for the whole day. And by the time they were coming back home, it was late at night. It was like almost midnight, something like this. And then he stopped by the beach because it was a pretty view. He was just enjoying the visit over there in Rio, and the beach in front of him, and there was a pretty sight scene in front of him, beautiful moonlight. So he just stopped for a while, just to relax and look. And then he saw this woman. She she was in front of the beach as well. She wasn't standing on. She had this candle and with her, and then she was saying a prayer, and after that she just put the candle. The candle was inside of something. Evidently, in the beach is very windy, especially at night. But she had the candle protected, so she put the candle on the sand. And after her prayer, she just stayed minutes and she left. And the friend that was walking with Chico, she called Chico and said, "Come on, Chico, let's go." And then she said, "No." He said, "No, no, no, look at that. Can you see it?" And evidently his friend didn't see anything. And he said, "I'd like to for a few more minutes because what I'm looking at is something so beautiful. You should see it." So then Chico described what he was able to see. He said that by the time the lady was saying a prayer, he was able to see several beings coming out of the ocean, coming out of the sea, and coming to the shore, walking to the shore towards that lady. Beautiful beings. And he was describing the beings to this lady and his friend. And he said, it's so beautiful because all the words from her prayers is kind of, as she is saying the prayer, the words, they are like waves of light, and then they go to these beings, and then these beings just set and kind of give back to her. And by the time she put the candle sand, they took the candle, evidently not the physical dimension, but they took the candle, and then they walked towards the ocean, back to the ocean with the candle. So he said it was this most beautiful meeting, and that happened right there in front of his eyes. And he said most beautiful beings coming out of the ocean. So that story actually reminded me some of the experiences that I had, and I guess I did talk to you guys about this when I was expecting my first son to be born, and that I met with these beings in the ocean. I didn't know back then those spiritual or like astral cities, they are located in the ocean as well, not only in the sky or something, but I didn't realize until I had those experiences. And then when I heard this story from Chico, to me it was a confirmation. Okay, I'm not crazy. What I saw, and it's something that anybody else can see and experience. Is wonderful. And yes, there are some spiritual beings live in cities, and in the ocean, or everywhere. Anyway, I just wanted to share this story with you. And the other thing that I would like to share with you is this is a congress, Spiritist Congress, that is happening in the same city that Chico Xavier used to live, in Uberlândia, in Minas. And this is very traditional congresses. Everything is all in Portugal. But just so you know that they have a lot of activities, lots of lectures and congresses and seminars that they do in Uberlândia until today. And this is a very nice place to go because you can visit the house Chico Xavier used to live and the places, and everybody who goes there, they say that they still can feel that energy. Leda, you probably have seen that, you have visited those places, but I'm just saying that in 2024, January from 26th to 28th, that will be another one. And I'm preparing myself to go down there. It's going to be my first time in this city, and I really want to visit Chico's house and be there.
That's great news, Anna. But Chico City actually was Uberaba, not
Uberaba, not Uberlândia. Yes, yeah.
It's very close, yeah.
It's very close, yeah. Yeah, thank you. And so this event over here is the one that I talked to you that is going to happen soon in October in Netherlands or Holland. Walking with the Unseen is the name of the event. It's going to be for the whole week of October from 9th to 13th at Barlo. And this is the place, this is the address where this event is going to happen. And this is the email. Take note of this email. Walking with the Unseen at gmail.com. You just sent a note to them, and they will send all the information you need to register in case you want to go and be there. So like I said, Sonia Rinaldi will be there, and lots of people like Scott Milligan and Sandra Champlain, very nice people will be there. So, and this is the Berk, I do not know how to say, Berk Castle. So that's the place where this event is gonna happen. So if you're flying over, so you can go to Amsterdam or Rotterdam, but they say there is also Eindhoven. It's very close, but they say it's very it's easy. Also, if you go to Amsterdam, it's very easy to go because this place Barlo is like southeast Netherlands. Over here, I have some estimates on the, if you were requesting a single room, it's going to be 760 euros. But you can also have shared accommodations or something that's going to be a little cheaper. And it's a beautiful place, by the way. I was looking at the pictures, very nice place, but it's going to be for the whole week. All right, so last time we stopped here. Law of equality, economic inequality was the topic. Question 812: if economic equality is not possible, is equal well-being also impossible? So the answer evidently no, but well-being is relative, and everyone can enjoy it if people can reach a good understanding among themselves. True well-being entails dedicating your time according to your passion, to your passion, not work that you dislike and for which you have no talent. Everyone has different abilities and talents, so that no worthwhile work is left undone. Equilibrium exists in everything, but the human race disturbs it. And the question A, Is it possible for human beings to reach a mutual understanding? The answer, they will arrive at it when they practice the law of justice. Okay, so let me close this. And the answer is, and the question, next question is A13. There are those who fall into poverty and misery through no fault other than their own. Is society responsible in such cases? Any comment before we go there? I think we lost Leda.
Well, I would have thought if it's through no fault other than their own, what do they mean by that? Because if it's no fault other than their own, then is society being a primary cause of their failure? It's a little strange there.
The way that they are asking the question, right? Is society responsible in such cases? So the example I can think of is the depression, the Great Depression, right? There was not really a person or institution, somebody that you could point, right? But still, lots of people, yeah.
When you say the Great
problem.
Depression, when you say the Great Depression, means the economic depression.
Economic, yeah, Great
That's right,
Depression, like 1920s, I guess.
Yes, but that were peoples who were responsible for that in the bottom.
Yeah. So I do not know if Kardec was thinking about that. Is society responsible in such cases?
I do think, Anna, that very often society is the cause for a lot of people's problems, because this is where they are reacting to society and their place in society.
I would say yes, and I agree with you. And I would say that if we didn't cause the issues, but we participate as we do not take action to mitigate problems. You see what I'm saying? So it's so easy for us to pass by somebody living in the street and, just going back home and enjoy your life, not thinking, okay, so should I be doing something to help that person? At least that's how I feel responsible. Gloria, please.
Didn't Lewis or somebody in this group told us a story about how Chico passed somebody on the street and told them a story about he was on the street in miserable situation in this life because of something that had happened to him in a previous life. In other words, he was living his he was making up for something.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Yes, Gloria. And also they can choose before they incarnate to do something to mitigate some situation that they see.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know that it is always karma in that I am paying for what I have done, but we don't know because people do choose to come back to do things.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I remember
yes,
this.
Hyacinth, I completely agree with you. The way I have pictured it in my head is that we humans are much less complicated than we like to think. And that if we put a bar chart of our main characteristics on the wall, there would be maybe 20 vertical bars for the different characteristics. And when we have passed our first few incarnations and have calmed down a bit and are thinking about how to plan an incarnation, we sit with our guides and friends looking at the bar chart on the wall of our shortcomings and achievements. This bar chart has a graph. The graph is high. The bar is high. If we have got some, generosity is good, for example, but then we've got all other kinds of different, I don't want to start guessing what the various characteristics are, but there's not that many. There's 15 or 20. And then we decide what we want to do in the incarnation to improve the 2 or 3 bars, which are very low. They're at the 5 level instead of the 55 level as the others are, and so on. So I think that's a much more humorous approach to it. And yes, when
how do you arrive at any numbers?
Oh, that's 100% is you are fully characterized and filled out in the generosity department. And then, so that chart, that bar is at 100%. The other bars, of course, are not at 100%. So you if you think they're lower, look, you don't put your own chart up on the wall. You allow it to be put there by your guide, so you can talk about it and see what needs to be done. I mean,
I don't
how else would
know.
you go? Well, of course I don't know. I'm guessing, but how else
Yes.
would you go about it?
No, no.
You can't just have this up in the air. you
I'm
need
not going to worry about it.
No,
do
I'm
the
not
best
worrying, saying anybody
this
should worry
one,
about it. But
and then
when you
we'll
are
see what
planning,
happens.
when you're planning your incarnation, you discuss these things, unless,
Yeah.
well, okay.
No, I'm in another dimension, in another situation, and I see things more clearly than I do when I come back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
okay.
I remember the story that Gloria was talking about. I think Luis mentioned that story. It was used to be a Marquise, and he was living on the street, and he for some reason he could remember, he was so attached to the wealth he had in the past that he was still asking questions, where my castle, where is my palace, where is my servants, where are my servants and stuff. So yeah, I remember that story. Leda.
Yeah.
Leda?
I'm sorry, my internet is very unstable today. But I have to use Giles' sentence because one size does not fit all. And the more we are prepared and the more we deserve it, the more we can plan our reincarnation. But there are some reincarnations that are not planned. People have to accept the consequences of what they did, and they cannot choose what to do or where to be. They just have to accept it. So sometimes it happens like that.
And talking about that, this reminds me, Leda, we realize that there is still a lot of books that are not translated yet. So Leda had this idea, and we discussed with Luis. Luis thought it was a good idea for us to handle a presentation about some of those books and explaining the stories exactly like these marquees, and explaining stories when covers examples like what Leda was talking about. Sometimes we do not participate in our reincarnation planning because we do not have the condition to, like psychologically or emotionally, we are not mature, or we are not making sense enough to be able to participate in our reincarnation planning. So our spiritual guides will look after us, and will certainly provide us what we need. But still, or yet, if we want to participate in that plan, we better work and be very how can I say, balanced emotionally, psychologically, so we will be in good shape enough so we can participate and make decisions whether or not we want to do this or that. So yeah.
There's always someone who is responsible to plan their reincarnation, but sometimes it's the leader of our family group, and sometimes it's people who care about us and love us, but sometimes we cannot have an opinion about it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Thank you, Leda. So, Leda, would you please read the answer for us?
Okay, so there are those who fall into poverty and misery through no fault other than their own. Is society responsible in such cases? Yes, we have already said that society is often the primary cause of such failures. Besides, society is responsible for providing the moral education of all its members. Society often warps its judgment through poor education instead of correcting their malicious inclinations.
Yep. 100% agree.
Yeah, so we are responsible not only for doing something directly against someone, but also for the good that we don't do to society when we don't educate and we don't cooperate with our society, like the case you've been telling in the beginning of the meeting, right? Of you making the meals, that's a way of cooperating. But also through education, when we study together, we study Spiritism, or we can study anything that we study, and we cooperate through the good of society. More.
Yeah. I guess that responsibility or that action really starts with us, right? Like us educating ourselves. Sorry, Hyacinth, please.
I have a problem with that because once upon a time, society as a whole did, they themselves, there was a moral fiber to the general society. Today, there is not. Today, that doesn't exist. The government, the schools, however, they are not teaching as they used to teach. Now it's everyone for themselves, and it's very few groups who are realizing that we have to do something. So society being responsible for the moral education of all its members, I cannot agree with in today's society. Where is the morality among our leaders? Very few have any morality at all.
I agree with you. I remember when I was, I do not know about you guys' education, but when I was little, back in the days in Brazil, we used to have a discipline that was the translation of the title of that discipline was civil and moral education, something like this. Do you remember, Leda and Maria? Educação Moral e Cívica.
Yes,
So it
I
was,
had.
yes,
I had it.
yeah, civil and moral education. I swear it was one of the classes nobody wanted to be in there, but it was obligated, right, Gilenius? Everybody had. but it was, I have to say, so happy, I'm so lucky that I had those classes. We could not choose not to be in there. It was, a must do. But there we were taught about respect to others, respect to the law, how to fulfill your obligations in a society. So it was something, they used to teach basic things, but those classes, they are here. There is like part of me, part of my moral values as foundation for it. Now, guess what? It has been like 20 years or something that they banned those classes. They are not part of the education program in Brazil anymore. And it's a shame. It is a shame. So I do not know if you had something like this in US or Europe, but I remember it was something really, really nice, very nice in Brazil, and but it's no longer there. So the next one is A14. Why has God given wealth and power to some and poverty to others? Well, I wonder what God has anything to do with that. Any comment?
We keep saying that God does,
Yeah.
And I don't know if it
I-
is God that makes somebody rich. Is it God that makes somebody be born to a wealthy family, and God that makes somebody be born to? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's right.
Hyacinth, I agree with you. I think that God is, as far as this is concerned, is totally hands off, because
Agree.
the purpose of the universe is entertainment, and if you interfere with it, you mess it up.
Well, I don't agree.
Why would you?
I don't agree it's entertainment, Jazz. But anyway.
I think it's evolution, education.
Well, it's the best. It's the best description I've ever found for it. Because what is it? What do we go to the movies for?
Life is not about movies and theater.
Yes, it is. That's exactly
Living.
what happens all the time.
No, no.
Oh, don't be so grumpy. Of course
No,
it
no,
is.
no. There are many who don't have that. I mean, no,
Yes.
I can't
Yes,
think
there are
it's
people having crappy incarnations. That's karma.
entertainment is part of life, not the
Yeah.
be all and end all and purpose.
Oh, it is. It's the be all and end all. Look what I just put in the chat. Laughter and love outweigh pain and suffering on this earth, even if it does not look like it sometimes.
Yes, but there is laughter and love, and there is pain and suffering.
Well, yes, of course. That's the whole point.
It's the other side to the coin.
Yes, that's why it's called entertainment, because this you have two
Well,
masks. One is the smiling one,
this.
and the other
Yeah,
one is the
okay.
frowning.
All right, we won't agree with this, Jazz, but okay.
Okay. Maria, you have your hand raised.
Yes, some times ago, someone asked Chico Xavier about this question. And his answer was that the rich people have more liberty to do what they want. Everything they want, they can do. And the chances of
failure
to do something wrong is bigger. The spirit in this kind of experience can do many things that's not good, that's not right. And when we don't have money and have good conditions, we are limited for the things, for the situation, to do only what we need to live,
Mhm.
to eat, to use clothes. Then I think I agree with the Chico that the rich is we have more chance to fail.
To fail. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So what Chico said is, wealth is a risky experience. Although several people may think it's something wonderful because then you have all the freedom to do whatever you want to do. But on the other hand, you have more chances to actually fail and do wrong things or make wrong decisions. Whereas if you do not have money at all, or if you have very little money, then you are limited on your doings and decisions. So the responsibility or the consequences of your decisions are not so how can I say, the impact is not that large or anyway. So it's easier. Being poor may be difficult, but you have more chances to succeed.
The wealthy have more choice.
Mhm,
That's one of the privileges. They have more of a choice
mhm.
than those who have to.
But
Yeah,
but they have huge responsibility. The other day, I got this email because my sons, they live in Dallas, and last year I was helping them to move from this apartment to a new one. Their contract was about to expire and they want to move closer to their work. So I was helping them, trying to find another place for them to go. So I put this search in an app. And every time there was something, a new listing, new house or apartment, then send me an email. For some reason, I do not know why. But they sent me this email with the new listing of a house that was nothing less than $33 million. So I thought to myself, I have to see this. I have to see what this house, $33 million, is about. And I was in shock because I saw rooms, wonderful, beautiful rooms, large, very well decorated, lots of rooms. I saw everything in there, but not a home.
not what?
Home.
Home.
I saw a place that cost $33 million, but I didn't see home. And to my dismay, this house had a room full of antiquities, including a sarcophagus.
Oi.
Yes. And I thought to myself, first, why somebody needs a $33 million house? And still, if it wasn't $33 million, I don't think I would ever have something like a sarcophagus in my house. It's like, God, do you know this is like a burial thing, something? It's so weird. So that brought to my attention that, okay, not everybody is really using them wisely. That recalls me this question because it is one of the examples that when you have a lot of money, but you just decide to set the money in there and get that money stuck in a single asset, when you could do wonderful things with $30 million and still live in $3 million house, wonderful house. But, why not using $30 million to do charity, to do something? So I don't know. Maybe that's why I don't have $33 million house. But anyway. So why has God given wealth and power to some and poverty to others? The answer here, to try them in different ways. And I guess that goes very much with what Chico said. What is more, as you know, is the spirits themselves who select those trials which they often fail. I'm good with the life that I have, with the money that I get with my own work. Okay.
Ah, yes.
815. What trials should human beings dread the most, wealth or poverty? I think we discussed that. The answer, they are equally dangerous. Poverty inspires complaints against providence, while wealth simulates all kinds of excess. Any comment, or is very short and straight to the point, right?
Yeah, one of the most difficult things is when the spirit gets rebellious, right? When you help me find the right word, and when you are rebellious, when you then that's a very hard thing, because you can stop your evolution in the middle because of being against the laws of God. So sometimes when you see so much injustice in the world, being very poor, and you suffer a lot, you may have this risk of getting very rebellious against God and against the universe. And this is one side. And the other side is when you get so rich, as you tell about this house, when you get so rich, you lose the track of what's important, what's basic, and what is the suffering of another human being. So they are both a very hard test, right?
Yeah.
We should not go to the extremes. We should be more balanced. So if we aim to have less risk, right?
Yeah, be more conservative in our goals. Not so impetuous, if you will. But
life, we learn from every experience. Giles says that the aim of our reincarnation is to have fun, right? But for me, it's to learn. So every experience that we have, we're learning a lot.
Yeah, and I agree. Yeah, it is my goal as well, is to learn. I remember as a little kid, I used to tell my mother, for some reason, I had no idea why I was saying that to her. I didn't want to fail this time. I used to say, I want to move to the next step. I want to move to the next class. I don't want to fail this time. Today, I know why I was saying that.
Yes.
So, hi, Cynthia, you have your...
Yes, true. Because it is said that we have all been all things. That we have been rich and poor, and beggar and thief, and and brilliant this and brilliant that, because we're all experiencing.
Yeah.
So that where we are now, we do the best we can and not, succumb to all sorts of things.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
I agree with that principle.
Yeah. Okay, so Giles is talking about. I remember what Leda said about sometimes some spirits getting rebellious if they found themselves in a situation where they're struggling with resources and not lack of money, etc. I remember this story, Leda, perhaps you will recall that. It was this lady, she was born in a poor family, not miserable, but poor family. And for some reason, she got this fixed idea that she had to move to US and make her life and get lots of money here, living here in US. She was a Brazilian. So she made her way first time in US several years ago. So she spent over here like living for 10 or 13 years, something like this. But evidently she didn't have papers, so she was not living here legally. So at some point, they found her, right? So immigration found her and she was deported. So back in Brazil, she spent few years when she decided to come back, but this time it was more difficult, right? She had been deported, and so no way she would ever get a visa or something. So she got this contact with some Mexican people, Mexican group, and she made her way. And I think she crossed the borders in Arizona. But nobody really know what happened to her, because she was walking, and imagine somebody crossing Arizona, which is very desert type of place, and she was found. She was almost frozen, and there was nothing in her purse, no money, nothing, no food, no water, nothing. But she was found somewhere in a desert in Arizona, and she was walking. I mean, talking about rebellious spirit. Why you have to put in your mind such a fixed idea that you have to go and live in another place where everything else is telling you no? Make your life elsewhere, try to find a place in the, just like everybody else, but still a rebellious spirit just insists on doing things that it's not meant to be, right? So I guess it's one example. So I do not know if you remember this story, Aleda, but it was a very famous one once they found her body, because that lady, she was missing for a couple weeks when the family called the police and talked to everybody and explained what's going on. And finally, when the police here in US, when they found her body, it was like all the news talking about that.
I don't remember it, but I think it's very very much what I mean, because spirits sometimes we have ideas of what's going to happen when we die, and sometimes when things are different than what we thought, we get to be rebellious. We don't accept it, and that's how some cities in the lower realms they are built, because spirits that are not interested in working for the good and accepting the law of cause and consequence, they start to build their own realms, and God lets them do that for a while, for some time. Yes,
Yeah.
it's a way for them to learn as well. But
Yeah.
sometimes they're stuck in their evolution, right?
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, this also reminds me something else. When we read the Astral City book, when André Luiz, he found himself in this place. It was the umbral, this lower realm, and all the other spirits, they were calling him suicidal. Remember?
Yeah.
And then he said, what do they mean suicidal? I'm not a suicidal. I died like from a cancer or something, right? In his stomach. And he said, I was not suicidal, but still everybody was calling them, was telling that he was a suicidal. And what they meant by this is because of the choices he made in his life, shortened his life, and because of that, then he was classified, or the spirits they understood him to be a suicidal. In this case, same case as this lady, this is also a suicidal one, because really she didn't need to be there. She had a family in Brazil. She had means to work and live in Brazil. But because of a fixed idea she put in her mind, it was the way to. So to me, it's like, a suicidal type of mind, right?
Yeah. Very dangerous idea. Right?
To say the least, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so now A16, while rich people have more temptations to do evil, do they also have more means of doing good? While rich people have more temptations to do evil, do they also have more means of doing good? I do not know if they have more temptations to do evil. Depend on the education of the spirit, right?
Luis had a very interesting metaphor for that. He says that when you're poor, you are riding a bicycle in any path that you take. If you're poor, you're riding a bicycle, and if you're rich, you are in a tank, in a war. Tanque de guerra is a war. What do you call that?
Those yeah, I can't remember the name. Yeah. Remember how I said those old war vehicles that they had a cannon? How do you call that?
Yeah, that's a tank.
A tank, right?
Yeah, so Luis used to say that so when you're in a bicycle, war tank, yeah. So when you're in a bicycle, you see the path, you see the holes in the way, you see everything little thing, every little animal, every little thing on the way, and you can turn away from them, not to kill any animal, not to get in a hole. You're very conscious about the path that you take. But if you are in a war tank, then you get through everything. You don't see exactly what you're running into, right?
Mhm.
So you may kill many animals. You kill the plants and the vegetation and the plants and the trees.
You don't mind anybody or nothing, right?
Yeah.
You just go
You
through.
just go. You don't realize what you're doing. So that's a metaphor that he used that I think it's interesting for rich and poor in this case.
Yeah, that's nice. Except that for rich and poor, you're comparing a bicycle and a Porsche. Yeah. So the question, why rich people have more temptations to do evil, do they also have more means of doing good? And the answer is, that is precisely what they do not always do. They often become selfish, proud, and greedy. Their wants increase with their fortunes, and they never think they have enough, even for themselves. The sarcophagus, I guess, is the house of $33 million house. Elevation. So then the comment here is actually from Kardec. Elevation in this world and authority over our fellow beings are trials that are just as difficult as those of misfortune are. The richer and more powerful we are, the more obligations we have to fulfill, and the greater our means of doing both good and evil. God tries poor people by submission, and rich by the use they make of their wealth and power. Wealth and power breed all the passions that bind us to matter and keep us from reaching spiritual perfection. This is why Jesus said it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for one who is rich to enter the kingdom of God. So I don't think that is this is a difficult topic in Brazil, because for many years the spirit societies in Brazil, they used to say that actually fortune or wealth is something that we should avoid, as a spiritist, that we should avoid, because all the risks and the difficulties, etc. So for many years, it was almost like a taboo in Brazil, right? So because they were interpreting wealth and fortune as something bad, something evil, when in fact it is not. I mean, money is just money, like any other resources. Is the how you make use of that matters. So we know that wealth is something good, because it promotes progress, it promotes education, evolution, and eventually, because of resources like this, we also promote the progress of our own intelligence, right? So it's not a bad thing at all. Is the intention behind is what you want to do. This week I was talking to two young boys, and they have an idea, and they were pursuing some orientation, some mentorship on how to work on their idea, and eventually, bring this idea to somebody else's attention, so somebody else to invest in their idea. So they were asking my help in terms of, giving them some guidance. And my very first meeting with them, I said, I have homework for you guys. Yes, I can help you. However, I want you to think about, what do you want with this idea? What is your intention with this idea? Do you just want to be rich because you believe the product you have is a wonderful product? It can be revolutionary. Yes, it can be. But what is your intention? Because behind that, one, you will have the help you need, or no. If the intent is just, if what you have behind your motivation, if you found greedy, then I would say do not do it, because it's not going to work. Now, if you think about, yes, I want to make a living out of this, but I want to help people, then be prepared for the responsibilities, but also be prepared to welcome people and that will be able to help you. Maria, you have?
Yes, you talk about a good point when you tell about intentions. When we are in the mediumistic meeting to receiving a spirit that is bad, in bad conditions, if we don't have the capacity to do the right thing, but we have the intention to help this spirit, our intention to do the best, to do the good for him, is the base that our guides, spiritual guides, work to help this spirit. The most important thing in one meeting to help everyone is the intention to do the better. Even when we don't have the conditions. It's very important in our lives to know, to take contact with our intentions, to do everything in our life. It's very important.
To know exactly what we want to do. Yeah. Thank you, Maria. Any other comments? Guys, okay. Hi, Cynthia, you are on mute.
I think perhaps sometimes you're right. It is, the wealthier you are, the more responsibility you have. And it's more, what are you doing with all that you have? Are you using it only for yourself, or perhaps using it to help others?
Yeah. I was talking to these two boys about, I told them to read the biography of Nikola Tesla. Tesla, he had lots of ideas and things that, was his ideas were very revolutionary. And he used to keep this book. It was a notebook full of ideas, and one of the ideas that he had, and he even built a prototype of this device that was capable of capturing energy And his idea was basically for everybody to have this device. And if you have it, then you had access to electricity without the use of all the motors or cables, or, you know, in a sense. So electricity power was meant to be free. That was his idea. So evidently, nobody, you know, lots of money and companies investing in all this power distribution network, etc. Evidently, he was never able to put his idea in practice. So he died poor, and by the time he died, his notebook disappeared forever. Nobody ever saw. I mean, everybody who knew him knew that he was constantly writing, you know, his ideas on this notebook. But surprisingly, after his death, this notebook disappeared. Now, think about what would be the planet Earth, or a continent like Africa, for example, if they had access to electricity like 60 years ago. Greedy can be very dangerous, and can, when we say, yeah, is society responsible? Yes, society is responsible for holding us back in this condition that we are still living today. We could be in a much better condition, but here we are, still struggling, trying to get access to energy, to basic stuff. Hi, Saint.
Tesla was working with electricity company.
Mhm.
And then he comes up with a plan that can have free electricity.
Mhm.
He was asking for trouble.
Yes.
And so, as I understand it, his notebooks were taken.
Mhm.
They were not lost.
Mhm.
And I was on a Zoom where someone was, a scientist, was demonstrating how you can get free electricity. But it's very dangerous. You need to know what you're doing, because you can do a lot of electricity. So, no, but I always thought, oh, Mr. Tesla, you can't work with an electricity company and then talk about free electricity.
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly, yeah. But, you know, there are some new people, young generation coming up with wonderful ideas, meaning better use of free energy, revolutionary ideas, very dangerous ideas if you think about all the oil companies and powerful companies. But I'm telling you, today is not a matter of what to do. It's not a matter of technology. We do have the technology. We do know how to do things. We have capable people coming up with wonderful ideas that, if put in practice, we will not have the same, or we'll have the problems with emissions, or pollution and things like this. The problem is greedy. But we do know what to do. We do have the technology. We do have people capable of putting those ideas in, in action. But you're on mute.
So I'm just curious, because there are, the majority, I think, live in the United States that are here. Is it due to greediness that the United States can't change their gun control? is that why that's happening in the United States from greed?
Including
Greed and power.
and power. But when we say a lot about United States, but there are so many other countries involved, and one of the problems we face as well is the laboratories. They're very, very powerful as well. So yeah, we face lots of problems. Sometimes it's not all related to government or certain government, but companies, institutions. Gloria.
I apologize. I don't know who the author is, but NPR, this was last month. They were interviewing a man who's just put out a book on the economy. And I thought it was very telling. He said that if the wealthy in the United States would just pay the taxes they owe, it would eliminate poverty in the United States. And that was anyway, it's an NPR interview, and I suppose if I Google it and look up, that, but it got picked up by some of the print media, but not very many. It was because it was an NPR story, but it's a book he has out, and he's a university professor, and but it's his research. And it's just economic data is all it is.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, many years ago, Larry King was interviewing people when he was still with CNN, and he talked about the tax that, yes, that's right. It was so that if wealthy people paid the tax, they wouldn't have a problem. And he was interviewing Warren Buffett, who said that when I discovered that I was paying the same rate of tax as my secretary, I had to do something because that was not fair.
Yeah.
Actually, he was paying a lower rate, I assume.
No,
Warren Buffett's income tax rate is low. If the percentage that he pays is much lower than his secretary pays a higher rate.
Yes, well, that's what he said, I remember, because I was just flabbergasted that how can he pay the same rate as his secretary?
Yeah.
That's what he said. And he was going to do it because he said that clearly was not fair.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that was many years ago. So
It's still true, because capital gains, you pay a lower percentage
yes,
than straight income. And
Yes.
his income is from capital gains, and his secretary's is from a salaried income. And
yes,
that's
right.
Not
Mhm.
fair. Yeah. Yeah, not fair at all. Anyway, folks, it's 4:26 in Houston. To be today, I was missing you. Next Saturday over here in Houston in the morning, we have an Earth Day, and I will be cleaning Surfside Beach in the morning. So you are more than welcome to come over and join me.
Anna, can we sing happy birthday to you?
Just a sec.